Perfect, thanks. So yeah, I'm the third Martyn. As you can say, we've been collecting Martyns. This is the final one for the day. But yeah, so my talk today is really going to be about brand. We've heard a lot about that actually in the initial sessions, which is kind of teed me up quite nicely, really. I think what I wanted to start with was quite a simple provocation, and that's what I've kind of titled the name of the talk. And it's the fact that AI isn't your problem; it's obscurity. Because as we've learned from the talks already, the landscape with AI and kind of the way that things are changing, it's not enough just to exist online anymore. If your brand isn't visible, trusted, and kind of frequently referenced, AI will skip straight past you, and therefore there's a good chance that your customers will as well. So we've got to really take it seriously. And the truth is, most of us are looking in the wrong place when it comes to AI. The real risk for brands is that AI isn't that AI changes search. It's that your brand won't be visible within it, and therefore the invisibility that comes with that. So yeah, I mean, quick intro. I'm Martyn. I head up the brand PR team at Tank. I've been in PR for 18 years, working across all sorts of sectors: AI, deep technology, also kind of retail, hospitality, and I've been really lucky actually since joining Tank 6 years ago, when we've kind of been building this really, really strong digital function to work alongside some absolutely brilliant team, which are. My background is really around brand and building visibility. So having that kind of digital backbone there, keeping me honest, keeping me, the team and I learning all about the changes that are coming through in SEO, and it's really given me a front row seat about how brand, SEO, and all of the kind of different marketing disciplines are really converging. So yeah, I'm really passionate about how AI is changing things. And how brand authority is becoming kind of a real centerpiece for it. So hopefully you'll enjoy my talk today. First up though, I kind of just wanted to break the ice, get a little bit of crowd participation going. So I've got a quiz, 2 questions, not too epic, but I don't know if anyone can tell me who invented the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell. So, gonna get the QI klaxon for that one. Because, yes, he did invent the telephone. That is true. But, oh, hang on. Skip past that. Do it again. But there was actually a chap called Antonio Mucci, and there was a lady called Alicia Gray. They both had working prototypes first. But Bell, he patented it, secured investment, but really crucially, he told the story. And that's one of the key reasons why he kind of owned that narrative, and we all believe that now. You search online, he's going to tell you that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. But really, it just goes to show the power of visibility and the importance of it. Another question for you: who flew the first aeroplane? The Wright brothers. That's 25 QI points to the chap up there. Because there were actually others who flew first. There was a chap called Clément Ader in France. But, the Wright brothers documented, demonstrated, and publicised relentlessly. So, this is going way back, but the lesson's pretty timeless. Being the first to market with something doesn't necessarily matter. But being visible, really can make a huge difference. And in the age of AI search, visibility, it's never mattered more. Next up, I just wanted to share a quote from Seth Godin. He once said that in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is a failure. And in a busy marketplace, not standing out is the same as being invisible. And that was before AI. But AI has really poured rocket fuel onto this. So, now if you're not clearly visible, trusted, and referenced online, AI systems won't know who you are. They won't know you exist. And if AI doesn't know you exist, then there's a good chance your customers are going to kind of skip straight past you as well. And I think it's worth pointing out that Godin had real form here. Back in 1999, long before the term inbound marketing was even coined, he was describing exactly that approach in his book, which was called Permission Marketing. He kind of understood at that time that these interruptive tactics that brands were taking were proving less effective, and that brands really need to earn attention now, or then at least, and that was in 1999, by being really relevant and useful. But if we fast forward to today, the warning about invisibility has become, even sharper. And in an AI-driven world, obscurity isn't just, inconvenient anymore. It could be terminal for a brand. And if you're not being mentioned, cited, and trusted in the right places, the AI won't surface you. If the AI doesn't surface you, we've kind of discussed this already, but there's a real chance that when individuals are out there, they're researching and discovering information about, what decisions they're going to make, what purchasing decisions, they're going to miss you out entirely. So yeah, fast forward to today, and the way people find information has fundamentally shifted, and some absolutely brilliant talks about that earlier this morning. And I won't go into this in detail because a lot of it's already been covered. But AI overviews, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, Claude, you name them. These are, they're changing how millions of people search, how they find things. Bain, a research company, did a bit of research earlier in the year, which was quoted in the Financial Times, found that 80% of consumers are now relying on AI written results for, almost 40% of their searches. And this was a few months ago, so it's probably changed again since then. There's a kind of rapid change in how people are discovering new information. And of course, this means, more zero-click search, and we've seen that accelerating. I think from these, the most interesting one is the one at the top right. Kind of shows us that it's not uniform across all different industries and sectors. So if you look to the top in the health sector, AI overviews and Gen AI app usage is absolutely dominating how people are kind of finding out information. And then further to the bottom, kind of real estate, people are still using kind of classic Google search. But it's kind of coming, and those green and bright green segments are just going to kind of continue to advance and kind of eat up how people are searching. But Google, obviously, as we've heard already today, is still an absolutely dominant player, really, really key. I mean, this chart at the bottom shows big orange, monthly users of Google, the smaller circle, ChatGPT, and there's, almost complete overlap. So, ChatGPT, for example, is just going to be a complementary to Google, and Google, obviously, with its Gemini platform, completely dominant. So we can't ignore those things, but we need to be designing our marketing strategies in a way that ensures that we're going to get picked up in those AI overviews and on those AI apps. So yeah, visibility looks very different now. I think I'll just summarize it with that. I wanted to next, as I was doing a bit of research for this talk, I uncovered this study from the University of Toronto, which actually came out last month. I thought it was really interesting. It was, controlled, thousands of controlled searches. And one of the key things it did is it went through those searches, and it categorized each of the citations in those searches to see what AI was pulling through. And then it categorized them as either brand-owned, earned, or social. There's tons of other stuff in this study, and there's a link in my slides, so you can go through it in detail later. But for the purpose of this talk, I think that I just wanted to pull out one of its main findings. And one of the most consistent things it found was that it's pretty simple. AI engines are kind of overwhelmingly biased towards their media. Just take a quick water break, one sec. And here's a pullout from the study. So nearly 2/3 of citations came from third-party coverage. Brand-owned content made up about 1/3 of that. And in this particular study, social wasn't being cited an awful lot. I mean, I'm sure it was important for the training data, but it wasn't being cited and referenced. So, that's an average across those 4 different AI engines that I was talking about. And on that point on social, I was quite surprised about that. But it kind of ties in with, I think, something Charlie was saying earlier, and the fact that the landscape is always changing. And in fact, last Wednesday, Reddit's stock price fell by 12% when new data became available. You can see at the bottom left chart there. That's how Reddit as a source has just completely dropped off a cliff in mid-September. So I think, one thing this tells me that we kind of got to keep looking at the data. It's changing all the time. There's no one answer right now. But, one of the most important things is that we can take from it is that if you're just purely relying on your own brand content, you're not going to be as visible in AI. So brands that are really consistently earning coverage and validation in reputable third-party spaces are going to be the ones that win in AI search. And there are nuances across the different platforms. You've got ChatGPT, which was leading the most on earned sources, so up to kind of 90%. You can see along the top row there, the big orange piece of the pie. You've got Perplexity, which kind of mixed both brand-owned content, mixed in a bit more of brand-owned content. Claude kind of sitting in the middle, and Gemini kind of fourth row down there, which was more heavily kind of leaning on brand-owned content. But I think it's an important point to say there's no kind of one picture for them all. They're all kind of using different sources. And, there may come a time when, we're strategically thinking, where are our audiences, which platforms do they use the most, and how are we going to feed that into our strategy? But across the board, earned media kind of really dominates. And that means that your brand's ability to secure coverage, show up in credible publications, and, that will directly influence whether AI recognizes you. And there's, I think we've seen this chart at the top left, a few times already today. It was a really interesting study by Ahrefs earlier in the year. But the top three correlations with whether you're going to be in AI overviews are all brand related. It's brand mentions across across various different media sites. It's branded anchor text, but really importantly, it's branded search. So it's people having brand recall about your brand. So when they decide to start searching for something, they're going to go and put your brand in. And that's a huge trust and authority signal that the AIs will recognize. So those brands that are achieving those things are going to be surfaced more. And, AI, as well as humans, prioritize names that they recognize and that they know. And that's why brand building isn't just nice to have anymore. It's a competitive edge in AI search. It's the difference between being referenced or perhaps, being erased, and kind of people kind of missing you entirely. And on the bottom right, that was a part of the same study, but it's just kind of showing that the brands in the top 25% of references or branded mentions performing so much better than even the next quartile down in terms of whether they were showing up in AI overviews. So really important to kind of keep an eye on competitors in your category and making sure that you're in that top quartile, because that's, by this study, a really important factor. So, next I just wanted to talk a little bit about integration and strategy. So, for far too long, we've kind of had various different disciplines. So, I'm thinking kind of like brand and what you might think of as traditional PR, digital PR and SEO, working in silos to one extent or another, not bringing it all together, each chasing their own KPIs. So brand PR really focused on the narrative, the reputation, and the story. Digital PR, really chasing those links and campaign coverage and backlinks in support of SEO goals. Then SEO working on technical optimization and content, to perform well. And individually, they're each doing a brilliant job, delivering great results. But AI search is a really different beast, and I think to win now, you've really got to dissolve the barriers between those. It's got to become an integrated strategy which factors in all of those things. It isn't optional. It's kind of the only way forward, that we think more holistically. And I'm thinking back to kind of Martyn's talk right at the beginning. It's about search everywhere. It's about bringing all of those things together so that there's kind of one strategy which is bringing everything in. And trust and authority signal is also really key. So that, common thread across brand PR, digital PR and SEO, and now AI visibility is authority and trust. So AI systems, they consume an absolutely colossal amount of data, and their ability to give accurate answers really depends on the credibility of their sources. So that's why placements, like the one you can see here, which was for one of our data and analytics and AI clients, they're so valuable. This is a regular column that we've secured for them in Tech Radar, which is huge platform with 25 million monthly audience, really authoritative site. And top line is, I am an AI expert and here's why. And it's linking our client's brand and the expertise of the individual speaking there directly with the topic area, which is really core to their business. And those kind of expert pieces are really, really important, and more so important now, because it really brings context around what you do, and trains the AI to understand what your brand is and what it's all about. Because if what's out there about your brand is kind of inconsistent or thin, that's how the AI will describe you. So, our job as communicators really is to understand that fact and feed the system with accurate, credible, and aligned messaging that really builds long-term authority. So there's 3 pillars of organic authority, really. Well, I want to talk a bit about the 3 pillars. It's a bit back to kind of the integration of strategy. So on digital PR, driving quality coverage, backlinks at scale. AI prioritizes content that come from trusted outlets. So if we're able to kind of make sure your brand's being picked up in a whole raft of different places, all linking back, that's going to, bring your brand into the conversation. You've got brand PR, which is really shaping the narrative, positioning your people as experts, as I was just talking about, embedding consistent messaging across every touch point. And this is what gives AI that kind of coherent, trustworthy profile that you're looking for. Then there's SEO, which is tying it all back together through kind of technically sound, content-rich websites that AI can crawl, understand, and summarize with ease. So each one matters, but together, I think they're unstoppable. I was meant to skip through here. But yeah, so I wanted to also just bring in a bit of an example of the work we've been doing with one of our clients. So Ascendex, which is a kind of business messaging company. I think, working with airlines to help them to notify customers if like a flight's going to be delayed. Think of them working with NHS trusts about kind of sending messages, WhatsApp or text about appointments. So on the kind of digital PR side, you've got perhaps, a data-led study looking at the digital skills gap in the economy and how it all fits in there and positioning in that way. You've got brand PR, putting their experts out there, talking specifically about WhatsApp's potential and kind of marketing press. And then you've got SEO, which is making sure that their site is, optimized for those keywords and bringing it all together in that way. And that's kind of what each one matters, but when they're all working together in tandem, it's what gives that trust and authority, and it kind of raises the bar from that perspective. So, and then like when it all works well, obviously this is basically what we want to see. So AI overviews, just search for business messaging systems and they're coming up kind of right here in the search and then also on the right. So when it all works together, that's kind of fundamentally where we want to get to. So how does it all come together? I think, say a brand wants to be the go-to authority on sustainable building products, for the construction industry. You'd have digital PR, which would be running a data-led campaign, analysing how UK construction projects still rely on maybe non-recyclable materials and, hopefully landing coverage across the board like The Guardian, Construction News and some of the key press that are there. You'd have brand PR positioning the technical director as a thought leader, securing commentary in trade and business press around the future of low-carbon building and the role of material innovation. And then on the SEO side, ensuring the company's website is really optimized around terms like sustainable building materials, eco-friendly construction products, and detailed guides, case studies, and product data that would really demonstrate the authority and expertise. Individually, each of these tactics builds visibility, but together, they train the AI, they tell the system, this is the authoritative voice. And that's how you can, in my view, dominate, you can dominate the space. So yeah, bringing it all together. And building brand is a really key part of that. I wanted to just share a short anecdote of something that happened just last week. So we were approached by a hospitality group it's got multiple venues across the UK, and they're planning a launch in, I think, Manchester and the Northwest, a couple of new sites. We'd actually spoken to them about 5 years ago, and they came back now. So we went and had a discovery meeting, and during that discovery meeting, we kind of asked, so was this picking up the thread from 5 years ago? I assume that's kind of where this is coming from. But what they said actually surprised us a little bit. They completely forgotten that they'd spoken to us before, and it was actually because they'd been searching that day in ChatGPT, best agencies for hospitality launches, best agencies in the Northwest. And we actually earlier that day had quite a significant brand moment for us, and that was launching our Manchester office, which was only a couple of weeks ago. And what was really fascinating was the speed, because we'd got that news out. It'd been referenced in various third-party places, but it was the same day that he was actually searching. It had already fed through into the LLM, and it made talking to us an absolute no-brainer, and it opened the door there. So I think what we've got to take from it is that the key thing here is we've got to plan those brand moments systematically. It can't be something that's kind of an afterthought. It should really be strategic, because they create signals that AI and people both use to decide who to trust, who to go to. And if you're not being picked up in those platforms at the right time, then it would have skipped straight past us and gone somewhere else. So just a nice anecdote. And I think brand moments kind of like this one.
Until the day I die, I will dream of you in a million lives. You're the one I choose. I love you till my...
So I thought it'd be rude to be in a cinema and not use video, but some people might think that those moments are a bit frivolous, but they're really not. They're going to be the things that create loads of chatter and get your brands talked about. But not everyone's got a Coca-Cola budget or an Audi budget in this example, but they don't have to, because it can all be about human insight and creativity. I just wanted to share this case study, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Indian Railways had a massive problem with ticketless travel. They knew that Indians spend 30 billion each year on lottery tickets, so they made every train ticket into a lottery ticket. They increased revenue by 34%. They had loads of people talking about them. It's kind of, what's the point here? It's basically that simplicity and human insight win. And if we have critical thinking in our teams and we take some risks with our brand and how we're going to actually put it out there creatively, it can have a huge impact. I think I'm a bit short on time, but I just wanted to kind of share also what we need to understand is what the platform's thinking about us. So running an audit is really a useful way to understand where the gaps are in knowledge, and then you can plan consistently how you're going to feed the information you need to the AI to fill those gaps. So you can just ask it loads of questions. It won't necessarily be the questions your customers are asking, but it gives you a really holistic view of what it's thinking about you. And that's a really good way of starting out. And consistency is really important. If there's not much online about you for a couple of years, it's going to be picking up that information. If there's one spike, a couple of months ago, it's not going to have a huge impact, but it's the consistency of applying some of the techniques I've been talking about. So key takeaways, let me just bring it all together. AI search is rewriting the rulebook on visibility. The brands that win won't just be the loudest necessarily, they'll be the ones that AI actually knows, and that means earn mentions in the right places. It means building context around what you do. It means moving early so that you're in the training data now. So in short, we all want to be the Wright brothers, not Clem and Adair, because nobody knows who that is. Make sure the AI can tell your story without you. And finally, a video.
This film, made in 1903, recalls the first flight of this primitive biplane making aviation history. As the two brothers prepare to attempt the first catapulted takeoff, man's age-old dream of flight becomes a reality.
So yeah.
This film, made in 1903...
It's got again. Yeah, so that's the point really I want to leave you with. AI isn't a problem, obscurity is. We've got to be planning how you're going to have those big brand moments systematically. It's crucial, as we've heard earlier. Those media mentions are going to be absolutely essential. We've seen from the data and from the study from Toronto, all sorts of places. And you've got to integrate, all of your marketing, with that in mind. Building visibility, trust and authority won't just keep up with AI. It will be absolutely fundamental to thriving in it. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. Got 2 minutes for questions, apparently.
No questions? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Brilliant presentation. Thank you. What's really interesting is the fact that you talked about the importance of top of the funnel and building that brand. So often I'm a fractional CMO, and so quite often we've got clients buying into this and then they run out of time for original content. And so what do? They go to ChatGPT to perform the original content. So obviously not original. Have you got any case studies or examples of what we could say to stop that happening, because they buy into the theory but then lose the time?
I think for me, it's really just got to be about showing them this, all the data that backs this up. Understanding that PR is really a long-term game, and there's evidence out there that shows it feeds into all of the different marketing disciplines. It improves, conversion for paid channels. It improves, as we've just seen, the performance on SEO. So if there's no one trick, I don't think. It's certainly something. It's about education, and I think it's about just being really, really clear with what all the data is showing us, and showing the absolute essential to kind of top of funnel activities.